got any experience, got this video of the scenery and the people around there. So we can have, I mean, a little bit of, not the real experience, but we can have going up is like 2 hours and coming down it'll be easier, but much more easier than what has our Prophet gone through. All right, so Mount Thawr is, we know that in geographically it's south to Masjid al-Haram, and by foot is like 1 to 2 hours walking, if I'm not mistaken. It's around 2.5 miles from Masjid al-Haram, and yeah. So why when we read the seerah of a prophet, so this is kind of it is a strategic planning that has been made by Rasulullah SAW and Abu Bakr to hide in the. Okay, so if you can see that all are starting from A, so it's easier to remember. So this is like a collective effort. It's being assigned to specific people, and with in riwayah from Aisha says that Abdullah bin Abu Bakr is a young, smart, intelligent boy. I mean, it's not a boy, it's a young man. He's a young man, smart, intelligent. Nobody would think that he will collect information, be the intelligence of Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr at that time, but he did it, and everybody involving in this is risking their life to help Hijrah, a successful event. And we know that the Quraysh made a parliament meeting, and they declared that find Prophet Muhammad dead or alive, and whoever finds him get a reward, which is 100 camels, which is now equal to around, if in the States there may be like a slight difference. So that's the amount of reward that people are racing through it, and that's what happened when on the way to Medina, Suraqah eventually found our Prophet, and he tried to chase and kill or bring them back to Makkah, but he managed to. He managed to come near, but he was promised another better thing that. He kept that promise until Prophet Muhammad SAW passed away. Alhamdulillah. So, if we want to imagine what happened in Mount Thawr, it's like if you have ever watched a movie or a scene that they had to hide from something hunting them, and they couldn't speak anything. They had to be silent. They hide. So that is how intense it was. The situation is. So when we look at some scene or movies like this, it will bring our heart in like very. We feel that if we were in that situation, it would be hard for us to even keep silent, or we will like scream or run away from that situation. But eventually, so that's where we learn about the specific ayah in Surah At-Tawbah, verse 40, that Allah SWT gave the tranquility or the peace in heart for both of them, especially for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, that he was in grief, he was worried about what's happening. So Allah SWT gave the ayah, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه وأيده بجنود لم تراها وجعل كلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم. So this ayah specifically, I mean, Surah At-Tawbah came later after this incident. Later, I mean, Surah At-Tawbah is like for the incident of Tabuk, the Tabuk, Ghazwa to Tabuk. So it came later, and this was a reminder for all the Muslims that, well, if you don't want to help the Prophet, then the Prophet has been helped a lot of times, and this is one of the incidents. Of course, there's a lot of previous incidents in Ta'if, dealing with the Quraysh, and this was one of the peak moment that Allah, of course, Allah helped both of them. When Abu Bakr said that he was worried about what's happened, it was in Hadith Muttafaqun alayh, where Abu Bakr said that if those Quraysh bent down to see on his feet, they would surely have seen us in this cave. So the response from our Prophet was really simple, but it needs a believing heart to really believe and action on it. So Abu Bakr was replied, what can befall? Ya Abu Bakr, ma dhannuka bi ithnain, Allahu thalithuhuma. What can befall two of who have Allah as the third of them? So this was the reply, and on that incident, but later on, Allah SWT gave this ayah to reconfirm that Abu Bakr is really his companion, a Sahaba, and to not grieve because indeed Allah is with us. So Allah has sent the tranquility. He supported with angels and gave all that those of them needed at that time. So, taking from the ayah, we understand that all human being will sometime in life will face these kind of situation, if not to that extent of being killed, but we will definitely be facing challenges in life, especially in our Muktamar. We will be talking about Hijrah in challenging times. So for me personally, I feel that worrying is okay. It's not a big problem if we worry, but if we let ourselves worry too much and come out from that situation of worrying, so that will lead us to being in a devastated situation. So in this point of time, we really need to strengthen our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, leave everything to Allah after putting our best strategies in whatever challenge we have. So among our strategies or effort that we can do in our life is, for example, if we have challenges in life, we need to really seek for people that can help us. Some people, especially maybe for male or men, they tend to isolate themselves and keep their problems to themselves, which is for me it's normal. Different for men and women is has a different psychology approach, but at the end of the day, we still need people around us, believing friends, supporting friends, or parents, or even our kids that will be a good reflection to us. So we of course we leave everything to Allah, but we get help from people around us also. So those people that we believe are sincere and credible enough to inshallah help us. So those people that we need to go and seek when we are in grief. So in that way, we believe that Allah sends people around us to help us. Okay, inshallah. And among values that we could get from this situation is, of course, sabr, when being in those challenging situations. So sabr is put into test to see how really patient you are. And the most biggest value or lesson that personally I learned is Thawr. From this event, Thawr, we imagine that the two best human beings that it's in the world at that time, which is Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, those are the two best human beings that all over the world are going through suffers and pain. But inshallah, if we have faith in Allah, everything will be eased to them. And also what happened to Abraha in Mecca when the birds came. So Abdul Muttalib had trust in Allah. Although there wasn't any verse of Quran, but they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he left Kaaba to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he believed that Allah will protect the house. All right, a few minutes more. So combining hijrah and tawakkul by doing our best action and putting our trust to the most capable and powerful will give us the best result in life, inshallah. With that, I think I will stop here. Thank you, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Thank you, Brother Abdullah Umar. Jazakallahu khairan for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. How are you this afternoon? Alhamdulillah, great. We just did this. يا كريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أمن هو قانت آناء الليل ساجدا وقائما يحذر الآخرة ويرجو رحمة ربه قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm so happy to be among my brothers and sisters. MashaAllah, the environment is really very healthy and very motivational to see brothers and sisters, and everybody says salam to everybody, and everybody's backed up. So that's very unusual to find the youth coming and listening and participating in discussion. MashaAllah, and leadership and you for having such a wonderful convention. It makes me focus more on a few points here. When we talk about country to another, but it's very inclusive. Hijrah from one state to another state. One level you have to another level that you aspire to. So we're really looking for wider definition of hijrah and this convention, and that's the purpose of the convention that we have. I wanted to share with you this because we're talking about lessons from the Quran. I really examined the Quran from the beginning to the end, and alhamdulillah, I came up with slides for every surah, and a videotape for every surah, and this is part of my conclusions. When you look at tarbiyah in the Quran, either comes before the event itself, like we had, for example, Surah Al-Kahf, as we discussed yesterday, was sent to the Prophet ﷺ about a year and a few months after the Hijrah, to prepare the Muslims to what is coming. Okay, so that's tarbiyah before the event happens. And when the event came in, they were ready. They were ready, Hijrah itself. And then tarbiyah during the event. What we're dealing here, tarbiyah after the event, after the Hijrah now happened. What lessons can we learn? So let's look into some of the lessons. And the Quran did state some of these lessons, as Brother Abdullah indicated. So you really look into the plan of the Prophet ﷺ. Then the reality, what happened to this plan? The Prophet planned it very well. Who could plan better than the Prophet ﷺ? But was the plan tight? Was it perfect? That's something we need to examine. Okay? Very important for us to really look into this model. If the plan is not perfect, he planned a prophetic plan, and the reality is wasn't that perfect, then what lessons we learn? We'll examine some of these lessons, because that's the heart of what we want to have in this session that we have. You look at the suffering of the Muslims from year 1 in Mecca to year 13. And when you look at the curve of suffering, you can see here, in here, third year, as we said yesterday. Why the third year the suffering was not that much until the third year? Because in the third year, what happened? What is the 10th year called? 10th year is called Amul Huzn, the year of loss, or the year of suffering or grief. Why was it called Amul Hula and Bay'atul Aqaba Thaniya? And Allah sends to the Prophet ﷺ here in this area here, al-jinn, وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. And then they went and warned their people, okay? إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا يَهْدِي إِلَى الرُّشْدِ فَآمَنَّا بِهِ. We heard the wonderful Qur'an. If the people are not believing in it, the jinn are. The split of the moon, okay, ayat for the Prophet ﷺ. Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj happens. The Prophet ﷺ sees miracles happening to him. All of that relieve the suffering of the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims with him as well, until the Hijrah comes in. But why the 10th year is so significant, as we explained before, okay? The suffering of the Prophet ﷺ came in 2 stages, verbal and suffering, and physical. So the 10th year that we have here, the suffering went from verbal to, they dared not touch him. Now starting to assassinate him. Okay? It's a big change. Who was really the reason for that change? Abu Talib. And of course, he's not as a person, but as a person and as a leader of one of the strongest tribe in there. Now he lost his influence. So they started to plot to kill the Prophet ﷺ, and that's where we had the Hijrah coming to the Prophet ﷺ. So Allah said here, Inna alladhina, the Hijrah was there in the mind of the Prophet ﷺ, early. How early was the Hijrah there? You remember? What Hijrah happened early in the history of Islam in Mecca? Habasha. Okay? So it was early. The Prophet ﷺ was looking for early. When the suffering started. Why? Because Allah revealed to him. And Allah, is telling the Prophet ﷺ, you cannot accept oppression. You don't live under oppression. You may be patient, but you have to find a way to get out of it. You're not going to be a person who yields to oppression and become weak. No, that is not acceptable in Islam. إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيما كنتم قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض. When the angels come to take their souls and they ask them, where were you? They say, well, we were weakened on earth. We were weak. We have no power. Then the angels said to them, we're in the land of Allah so wide that you could leave that spot and go to another spot. You cannot accept oppression. That is very important part. Allah told Prophet Muhammad ﷺ at the end of Surah Muhammad, فَلَا تَهِنُوا وَتَدْعُوا إِلَى السَّلْمِ وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Do not call for peace when you're weak. What a way to understand Islam and the greatness of Islam. When you are weak, don't say, I'm coming to you with a peace proposal. Then you really have no choice but to accept it. So Allah is reminding the Prophet ﷺ, do not do that. So the planning was there. When was another planning? The journey to, after Al-Habasha, there was another journey to find a safe haven for the Muslims. Where to? At-Taif. That was at the end of the 10th year. That's where the peak of the suffering came in. And the Prophet ﷺ was bleeding as he never bled before, and they threw stones in his face, and you know what happened in At-Taif. So there were trials. And then came the Ansar. With the Ansar, Bay'atun Nisa, the bay'ah of women. Why was it, is this putting women down? No, actually putting them up. Because it's taken from Surah Al-Mumtahina. When the women came to the Prophet ﷺ, leaving Mecca to leaving the oppression in Mecca to the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, the Prophet ﷺ would make a test. And that test, they would say, we came for nothing but for the sake of Allah. And they make a bay'ah to the Prophet ﷺ. All of it is about ethics. Ethics to really be strong Muslims with strong them. The same bay'ah, same statement of the bay'ah. That's very significant. Leaving the house to go to Abu Bakr's house, he goes in the middle of the day to go to Abu Bakr to tell him about the details of the journey. He buys from Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr says, I'm ready for that moment. I already brought 2 camels and the 2 rides, and they are ready to go. The Prophet ﷺ would not accept them from Abu Bakr. He pays for it. Okay? He doesn't want to exploit anybody. As a leader, you want to ethical, doesn't accept a payment from Abu Bakr, pays him for the ride. That's also another lesson that we learn. Traces all steps of the Prophet ﷺ so that nobody would discover where they went. Okay, Abdullah ibn Abi Bakr gathers the news, and early in the morning he's with them. Again, early in the morning he's with them. So they think, oh, he didn't go any place. He's with us from the beginning of the day. What a tight plan, precise plan. Asma, she's pregnant in her last months of pregnancy. Nobody would expect her to be the one who walked 6 miles, giving the food to her father, putting it in her belt, that nitaqayn, split it and put the food in it. One to tie herself, one to put the food in. Nobody expects a lady in her late pregnancy to walk such a long distance, walking in the harsh environment. So everything was planned so precisely, so perfectly. You see, Ali, they look, and Ali is the one who's top of them. From that, if it didn't work, we plan and Allah planned, but at the end, without Allah's help, your plan is nothing. That's what Brother Abdullah is talking about. Tawakkul. You put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Pharaoh's plan to kill Moses. نريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم أئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين ونمكن لهم وهامان وجنودهما منهم ما كانوا يحذرون. Comfort from you. Remember, Al-Qasas comes to the Prophet ﷺ, Allah will provide you with his victory. So trust Allah. That's a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You look and see here, the Pharaohs had all the power but lost. Moses had nothing but won. So what lesson do we learn? If you have all the power in the world but Allah, you're going to be unfaithful. No. Who was the winner at the end? Musa alayhi salam. Trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put your trust in Allah. Take the means and leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did in the lessons in the Hijrah. And that's where we read in very interesting verse in Surah Al-Anfal. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in verse 17, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ. You didn't when you did. What an expression. You did not throw the arrows when you threw the arrows. You their side and not on your side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at the end, لَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. You didn't when you did. Allah did. That's an important lesson for us as Muslims. And the verse, فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ لَا. Cause here comes in when the Prophet ﷺ said, as Brother Abdullah said, ظَنُّكَ بِاثْنَيْنِ. Peace, no panic, full trust. Allah, and then Allah sent soldiers that you did not see to save them. And Allah, turned them away from the Prophet ﷺ. So, put the effort and leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's very important. Maryam, she's delivering the baby and she's shaking the tree. She doesn't have strength. And what is she shaking? The mushriks managed to be on top of the door. So perfections are not possible even if you are a prophet. Okay? It's a very strong statement. Who adds perfection to you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who makes your plan perfect? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Provided that فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى is there. You leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the end, you want to trust Allah. That's the criteria. Trust Allah all the time. And be confident that Allah will take care of you. كَلَّا إِنَّ مَعِيَ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينَ. It's not la, إِنَّ مَعِيَ رَبِّي. It's كَلَّا. كَلَّا is stronger. When you want to deny something strongly, you say كَلَّا. When you want to deny something not strongly, you say la. Okay? So here comes to us this. May Allah guide us all. And we conclude with maybe one or two slides. مَا ظَنُّكَ بِاثْنَيْنِ اللَّهُ ثَالِثُهُمَا. It's very important for us. And maybe my last or before the last slide. When the Prophet ﷺ left his house, what did he recite when he threw the dust of the mushriks were standing by his door? What did he recite? This verse. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ أَغْلَالًا فَهِيَ إِلَى الْأَذْقَانِ فَهُمْ مُقْمَحُونَ وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ in Surah Yasin 7 and 8. Okay? So when you are in trouble, when you are about to get a ticket, okay, say, recite these. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. Important for us to use the Quran in our methodology, and I'm sure this is maybe the last slide. Okay. I think I stop at this point. I left one or two slides. So thank you very much. May Allah reward all of you. And may Allah, inshallah, make you among those who trust Allah fully, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Hamad Ghazali, for sharing some of the history of the Hijrahs during the time of the Prophet, some of the strategy of the specific journey. Jazakallah khair. Okay, well, while we wait, if anybody's working up a question in their mind, maybe I'll start with a question that I had. I had a question for Dr. Hamad and for Abdullah. Maybe because it's still fresh in my mind, I'll ask you the question first. You mentioned yeah, something about when you are in a weak condition, don't call for peace. So the question is, if not calling for peace when you're weak, then what would be, and the part B of that same question is, do you think this is directly applicable to the condition of Muslims here in the States in terms of like being weak?
Very good. I know. Withhold your hands, don't fight, but establish the prayers. And in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah said to the Muslims, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Seek help through patience and prayers. And Allah is saying within that context, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. Then وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. So Allah will test you with fear, with hunger, with loss of children and loss of souls. Okay? So when this is happening, you establish the salah. Patience and salah. While you work in a plan. Allah was teaching, the Prophet ﷺ when he was years, then another 7 years, then another year. This is 15-year plan. So you strategically make a strategic plan. Jazakallah khair. I want you to build some background before I answer this. In the fiqh issues that we face, okay, there are two schools. In the middle, there are others. Okay, one is called Madrasatul Aql. One is called Madrasatul Naql. Okay, Aql or Ra'i, meaning the brain or the mind. There's a hadith or a verse, you stick 100% to it. You don't use your brain. Use the text. That's where we have that differences in opinions. Okay? So the ones who quote this, they quote a hadith that prohibits you to go and permanently someplace. But on the other hand, the one who use the other school, the school of the brain, and those who are in between, they use incidents. That's a lesson that Allah wanted to teach the Muslims before they went to Medina. In Medina, you're going to face tons of issues that are not black and white, and this is one of them. You make the decision based on weighing fiqh al-muwazanat.
So yeah, I may not I give the best answer about it, and I'm not sure I heard you perfectly, but I was during this presentation also I had a question about. I mean, nowadays we have challenges in how to manifest sabr in ourselves, because nowadays everything is going fast with the technology, the internet. I mean, people want things fast done. So when Allah SWT says about sabr, we can say a little from our mouth about sabr, and also dua. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't have the perfect answer about that question. Maybe, Doctor, you.
Let me share a few things, Yani. As we said, in all matters that deal with politics or things that has to do with muamalat, okay? Let me add one point here so that we all also build a background about how to answer questions like that. You look at Islam overall, you will divide it into two areas. One is aqa'id and ibadat. Okay? Aqa'id means arkanul iman, imanu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusuli. And the ibadat is the salah, the sawm. We say al-aslu fil aqa'idi wal ibadat al-ittiba'. The principle in aqa'id and ibadat is to follow. You don't change anything. You don't use logic to change things. You use logic to follow. And matters of dealing with people, mu'amalat. Al-aslu fil mu'amalati an-nazaru ila al-masalih wal-maqasid. You look into the end goals, the interest of the people, what benefit the people. The Prophet ﷺ said, whosoever sees a lost camel, leave it alone. Don't catch it. Why to me? The opposite of what the Prophet ﷺ said. Opposite, exact opposite. But why did he do the exact opposite? To achieve the same goal the Prophet ﷺ had in mind. At his time, people were coming to Islam, from different backgrounds, and thieves and theft started to appear. So Uthman wanted to also to protect the ownership of the camel by doing the opposite of what the Prophet ﷺ said. So this is mu'amalat, matters of dealing with the people. Then what governs it? What governs it is al-masalih. Okay? Wal-maqasid, the end goals, the interest of the people, what benefit the people, the ummah. Based on that, you make decisions. You look into what we call fiqhul waqi', the fiqh of reality of the people. Okay? You can't deny the reality if you are weak. You can't deny the reality when you are helpless. Then you seek help in other means, and so on. I hope that answers the question with that really strategies onto how you deal with these issues. There is no black and white. There is no yes and no. It depends. You see? That's what the answer is. It depends. You analyze the situation. You look into the circumstances. As if it's not aqa'id or ibadat, then you do all of that and you make the best fit. And the engineer here knows what the best fit is.
Anybody else with a question or comment? Yes.
Yeah, that's a very valid question. Who makes the best? فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. All of them, if you don't ask. And also be aware when you ask. Unity issue. Then we have what we call أهل الحل والعقد. The people of, like a shura council, like a scholars council, who sit and make decisions. Okay? We have here in the USA, for fiqh issues, we have the Fiqh Council of North America. There are really issues councils. AMJA, American Muslim, jurists, Muslims or something, that make fatwa, and you can call them and they have a hotline. So you can see here, we as a community find channels to answer our questions and make decisions. And when they make decisions, they're going to follow the approaches that I just discussed. I hope that sheds some light on it.
Yeah. Anybody else with a question? Sisters? Yes, sister. to play volleyball with the Muslim brothers. He obviously knows that we're Muslim, but he just said Merry Christmas. He doesn't really believe in Christianity. It's just one of those.
So he's trying to as to the guy. What I'm trying to say here is the Prophet ﷺ was always accommodating, helpful to non-Muslims. There was a guy, okay, who came, his name is Abu al-Bakhtari. If you see Abu al-Bakhtari coming to you, don't kill him. Though he's coming to fight you, don't kill him. Why? It's a matter of life and death. My point here, the Prophet ﷺ was so accommodating and so appreciative of people who do things. Dr. Qaradawi says it's okay to say, Merry Christmas or whatever. You don't really mean that you believe in what he believes. Personally, I go with that opinion. Accountable to something that I'm just trying to accommodate and be nice to the person in front of me. I don't acknowledge, I'm not a Christian. Religion is clear and I know exactly where I belong. And one of the things that I want you to be aware of, based on what you said, the fiqh is not made from one hadith. You may find the correct hadith, and the scholars don't use it. And the scholar, and another doesn't use it. Okay? Very common. So you really look into the overall pay, the diyah of the non-Muslim, half the diyah of the Muslim. Okay? Because the hadith said so. Imam Abu Hanifa says, how come? This is a soul and this is a soul. A female, the same thing. Diyah is half of the male. Abu Hanifa says, this is a soul and this is a soul. I'm not going to use the hadith. Okay, there is a verse. The verse says, وَكَتَبَنَا عَلَيْهِمْ فِيهَا أَنَّ النَّفْسَ بِالنَّفْسِ وَالْعَيْنَ بِالْعَيْنِ وَالْأَنْفَ بِالْأَنْفِ وَالْأُذُنَ بِالْأُذُنِ وَالسِّنَّ بِالسِّنِّ وَالْجُرُوحَ قِصَاص. The verse says, a soul for a soul. I'm going to drop the hadith. I'm going to take the verse. So the verse is not going to specify. The hadith is not going to specify the verse for me. And this is his. Your diyah is full like a man. The choice is yours. Okay? And you have this opinion and you have this opinion. That's a comment on what you said. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Allah reward all of you.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. It is 3:01. I want to thank again both of our speakers. Jazakallahu khairan for sharing your experience and knowledge. And of course, I want to thank all of you for attending. We ask Allah that the session will benefit us, all of us and our families, and everybody that asks questions. Brother Ibrahim, thank you for your comments. And a commercial plug, Brother Ibrahim will be speaking in this room tomorrow at 10:30 on the history of Muslims in America. I believe that's the topic. So hope to see all of you here. Inshallah, we'll end the session with dua kafatul majlis. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته